The Boston Celtics finally break their bad record of losing Game 2s. They lost to the Miami Heat in Game 2. They lost to the Cleveland Cavaliers in Game 2, but now they beat the Pacers in Game 2. Dominate the Pacers 126-110. Unfortunately, here on Celtics Today by Chat Sports, we're going to be breaking down the injury report first because there were two players that did go down in this ballgame, which you never like to see. But in the back half of the show, I do want to talk about highlights, specifically Jaylen Brown highlights and what he did to help lead the Boston Celtics to a Game 2 win, taking both games in TD Garden and now moving on to Indiana, where they'll take Game 3 on Saturday night. First and foremost, help us get to 30K subscribers here on Celtics Today by Chat Sports, the #1 YouTube content to find Boston Celtics information. And guess what? It's all for free. Plus, we're live for every single Boston Celtics basketball game as well. All you guys have to do to help us out is hit that sub button for me. Now, let's go ahead and break down the injury news from Game 2. Tyrese Haliburton and Luke Kornet, two very pivotal players here for either team. Luke Kornet, who did go down in the first part of this ball game, but Tyrese Haliburton did go down in the second half here. Here is what Zach Cox had to tweet out about Luke Kornet when he did go down in the first half. Luke Kornet might have tweaked something in his hand/wrist. He's getting it checked out on the Celtics bench. From there, he did end up going back to the locker room, per Adam Himmelsbach, saying Kornet is headed back to have his left hand checked out. ESPN did put on their injury report that Luke Kornet was questionable to return to Game 2, which he did not, but they did have him having a left hand sprain. We are going to keep you guys updated with Luke Kornet, but as of right now, ESPN has him listed day-to-day with a wrist sprain, which is tough because you've already downed Kristaps Porziņģis, who is believed to have optimism to return in Game 4 per Adrian Wojnarowski, but it's tough because Al Horford, thankfully, only played 25 minutes in this Game 2 win, but you just really want to minimize the minutes that Al Horford does play here. Cornet may not have fared well versus Indiana when he was playing so far in this series, but he just needs to put more weight/stress responsibility on Horford, and with Luke Kornet going down, that's exactly what it does. Horford is 38 years old, and while he does still have a lot left in the tank, which we saw in Game 5 versus the Cavaliers, you just still need Kristaps Porziņģis because that's a lot to be putting on Horford. We saw Shea Brissett come in while Tatum kind of moved to the 5 spot and took over Miles Turner's role against the Pacers, but you really do hope that this Luke Kornet thing does turn out to be a day-to-day and not for an extended period of time. Plus, Woj did say that KP could come back here in Game 4. He was ruled out for Game 1 and Game 2. We already knew that. And there was optimism that he could return to Indiana in Game 4. Hopefully, that could possibly be the last game the Celtics will have to play in this series. But if they do come to a Game 5, hopefully Kristaps Porziņģis, the next time the Celtics do play back in TD Garden, KP will be available. But here's the really concerning part. And I understand this is a Celtics page, but the Celtics want to play the best players that are out there. Tyrese Haliburton is the best player out there for the Pacers. And unfortunately, the All-NBA guard, who was named recently yesterday, was out for the rest of Game 2 in the second half of the ballgame. He departed with left hamstring soreness, sources tell ESPN. Haliburton missed 10 games with a left hamstring strain in January. And unfortunately, he did injure that hamstring going up against the Boston Celtics, where he did the split down low under the basket, and it aggravated that left hamstring. So he did have one play where he kind of just took a step back to put too much pressure on that hamstring, and ultimately he went to the locker room, and that's when he was ruled out. This is tough, man. You don't want Haliburton to be out. We didn't want Donovan Mitchell to be out against the Cavs. You want the Boston Celtics to be tested, to win up against their best players. And fortunately for the Pacers so far, they really haven't had any big injuries. Our biggest injury came with KP going down in the game in the first series. So it will be tough, but this is obviously going to be a monitored injury, so there is no timeline, there is no actual injury report. As of right now, it's just soreness. But are you guys worried about the Celtics front court injuries right now, throwing it back to that Luke Kornet injury that we talked about earlier in this show? There is no diagnosis just yet. I'll keep you guys updated with whatever we know once Joe Mazzulla does update us. But comment why you're worried and comment why you're not worried down below in the comment section. Coming up here, Celtics versus Pacers Game 2 reactions. I want to talk about one man in particular, but also really want to emphasize the bench play that happened here for the Boston Celtics. Before we get into that, I've got to tell you guys about our sponsor here on Celtics Today by Chat Sports, PrizePicks, the #1 daily fantasy sports app in America. I'm playing it. Smitty's playing it. Here's why you guys should too. It's super easy. All you have to do is just pick between 2 to 6 players and just pick more or less on a player's projected stats. That's it. For your chance to win up to 100 times your money with as little as 4 correct picks. I went all WNBA here for my picks tonight. I took a break from the NBA, but they have MLB as well, NHL, Call of Duty, League of Legends. I did have WNBA here because they did tell me if I picked 3 of a power play, it would increase my payout by 6 times. This is a $15 power play to win 95. Here are my prize picks for tonight's games. You guys can go ahead and make your own for tomorrow's games. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use that promo code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less, I promise. It is that easy to watch yourself win some real money in real time. Smitty's coming in to join me here to talk about the Celtics versus the Pacers, because let me tell you, this was a much better ball game. Did it look better?
Yeah.
I think so too.
I think it looked better. And usually, we start with a player, but I think overall, Boston looked very good tonight. This actually looks reminiscent of Game 1 for Indiana. As far as looking at these numbers go, 28 assists to 47 made baskets. Solid, I'll take it, but the Celtics did hit a lot of jump shots as the game progressed in isolation. I like that. 40% from 3. You're going to win. The Celtics are too good defensively, too good off the bounce. When they're shooting 40% from 3, more often than not, they're going to win. And then overall, 53% from the field. They did fantastic tonight, winning the rebounding battle by 3. And Indiana still shot pretty well, but at the end of the day, you forced them to be uncomfortable. You forced them into a ton of turnovers early. You allowed yourself to play good defense without fouling. And obviously, when the Celtics have a player like Jaylen Brown who ends up taking over in a ball game like this, you're going to have the edge.
No, I thought they played better. They obviously won in every single category here. I think the #1 thing and one of our keys to victory entering into this entire series was controlling the pace. Because if the Pacers do have the pace of the basketball game, it's lights out. But the Celtics, they looked like they were just practicing out there. They were running plays effectively and efficiently.
Yep.
It looked beautiful on several plays. Yes, there were still a little too many turnovers in my liking. Yes, there were a couple of missed open shots. But hey, if they're playing perfect basketball right now, I guess you got to be concerned too because job's not finished. But there's one man here that looked damn near perfect to me, Smitty.
He looked pretty damn good, and that's Jaylen Brown.
Jaylen Brown, 40 points.
This is wire to wire, by the way.
Yes.
This is from end to end. He looked fantastic. Tying who?
Tying his career high.
Oh, tying his career
career high.
His career playoff high.
Yes.
That's correct.
With 40 points, I loved this man. I said at the beginning of our pregame, I said, this is going to be my X factor because he was snubbed from the All-NBA team in my eyes. He could even been a contender for All-Defensive NBA team, but he missed both of those, and he came out here, he said, let me show all the analysts what I can do. 40 points.
It's a hungry JB.
Phenomenal. Look at that, man. 40% from downtown. 52% from the field, not to mention his court vision was on one. He took some big blows here tonight as well. He kept getting up. He kept pushing. I loved everything I saw from Jaylen Brown, Smith.
I did as well. Fantastic night from JB. You didn't find much wrong with him on the offensive end. He wasn't making a ton of mistakes. He was shooting the ball efficiently. He was hitting really tough shots. Jaylen Brown, obviously dating back to Game 1, everybody knows how tough of a shot that was with Pascal Siakam basically in his circle right there. He had to rise up over him and hit the jump shot. That's something that Jaylen Brown is accustomed to. You see him catch the ball, throw a couple pump fakes up there at the elbow or in the mid-range, and he just ends up rising over potentially a smaller defender and hitting those jump shots at a very high rate. He did that a ton tonight, put his head down, got to the rack, drew a bunch of fouls. He had 11 free throw attempts tonight. He made 8 of those. It's solid, good enough for him.
Yeah. We'll work on it one day.
He'll be an 85% free throw shooter one day. Maybe not. Who knows? Who cares? I do. But Jaylen Brown played overall. I cannot complain about what he gave us tonight.
No, I can't. And I got to talk about his right-hand man, Jayson Tatum. Obviously on my shirt here. This would be considered one of – hold on. You got to look at this, man. JT, this is considered one of his off nights, and it's still 23 points, 6 boards, 5 assists. Obviously, let's just not talk about the 3 ball here tonight because it's not getting better. There's nothing to say. It's
He's
not getting
lost it.
better. His touch is gone.
He has straight up lost it.
That one came in the fourth quarter. That's it.
I don't think he has a game this postseason where he shot more than 7 3-pointers or 7 or more 3-pointers, and then he shot over 33%. It's been brutal for Jayson Tatum shooting the basketball. This all happened in the latter stage of the third and fourth quarter. He had 4 points at halftime. He was looking like he was disinterested. He was jogging. He was playing lackadaisical on both ends. At halftime, he was the only Celtic who didn't have a plus-minus 11 or higher. He was a -2.
Yeah, definitely.
He was a negative asset out there. Listen, Jayson Tatum, after game one, got a ton of slander, and I wasn't agreeing with a large portion of it. If he gets slandered tomorrow in the media, I'm going to say it's well-deserved because I did not like what I saw out of Jayson Tatum tonight. He has to be better. I'm not saying he had to be what Jaylen Brown is tonight. This is Jaylen Brown's night. But he's got to be a more effective basketball player, even if he's not scoring 40.
I do agree. He's just got to be that guy, and as of right now, that wasn't his game to be that guy. That was Jaylen Brown's game to be that guy, but that's why they work so well together. I want to talk about Derrick White, stepped up huge as well on the offensive scoreboard. 23 points, 4 boards, 6 assists. His court vision was lethal. His defense was great, guarding Tyrese Haliburton for most of the game here as well, while Jrue Holiday did switch off and try to get a little bit of Siakam, tried to really shut down the duo of Nesmith and Nembhard. 15 points here, obviously not 28 points, but I don't think we're really going to see 28 points.
But if we're getting this at a Holiday,
I love
are you
it.
kidding me?
Like double-double. It's a double-double, baby.
10 times. Are you serious? He was fantastic. Defense of Indiana was obviously more attracted to him on a night like this than they were in game one. That's why he went for 28. They were kind of sleeping on him. Now they play much tighter defense on him, and he's finding open shooters. Tatum did that a good bit as well, but overall, Jrue Holiday's game just looked way more polished, way more efficient out there than me. I mean, obviously 6 of 7 from the field, 3 for 4 from 3. You cannot say a bad thing about the way that Jrue Holiday is playing right now for the Boston Celtics.
But unfortunately, you can't say a bad thing about how the Celtics are deciding to play up against Pascal Siakam. Last game, it was Miles Turner. They did good. They locked him down this game. But, Pat, what are we doing?
They're letting Pascal Siakam get whatever he wants.
All right, I will admit, towards the end of the second quarter, where Siakam just kept going, fade away, fade away, fade away. He had like 6 to 8 points in like 2 minutes. That was a lack of defense. That was the end of the quarter. I think the Celtics were just kind of done at that point.
And at the end of the second quarter there, Jaylen Brown got matched up with him, and he already had 2 fouls, so he couldn't pick one up.
There was a lot there, yeah.
Siakam right to the rim.
But 77%, and when I tell you this is all from the exact same spot. It's a fadeaway bordering the line of the paint in the mid-range, and he had lights out. This is where you need KP back. This is where you need 7'3" in your face. Horford is not equipped to guard Siakam continuously. I did like that Tatum had Siakam for a while, but he had Turner as well. JB was on Siakam, and he did okay in some plays, but those fadeaways, man, it's just not it. But let's talk about the Celtics bench here real quick.
We got to give a shout out to this guy.
Got to give a shout out to Brizzy.
Come on, O'Shea
Brizzy!
Now, keep in mind, this box score, this stat line, not too flashy, right?
It's okay.
It doesn't tell even half of the story of what O'Shea Brissett was giving the Celtics tonight.
He was plus 11 in about, 5 minutes or so?
In 2 minutes. The first
2 minutes?
In the second quarter, he was a plus 11 in 2 minutes.
He's a spark. He crashes the O board like nobody's business. He went up for a 2-hand slam dunk, was expecting a huge handoff from Brown when he was double-teamed to O'Shea Brissett. This guy came in. This is why I love the Stay Ready group. That's what they call themselves. This is why they are the Stay Ready group. You can come in and keep the tempo.
Brissett finished with 3 steals. One of them, he flew all the way from the left corner all the way to the right side of the basket, and on a entry pass inside, he comes in and intercepts it like Earl Thomas back in the days of the NFL. He would look like a safety out there, just giving the Celtics so much juice on a night where they didn't. They saw Luke Kornet injury. Obviously, you don't have Porziņģis, and Al Horford has a ton of responsibility. O'Shea Brissett has this tweener build where he's built to play with the Pacers. He can guard guys like Isaiah Jackson, Siakam, Ben Shepherd, Nesmith, those in-between guys who play on the wings and at the 4 spot for Indiana. I loved what I saw out of O'Shea Brissett tonight. I hope we see him again this series.
Same thing from Peyton Pritchard. I think he did a great job on defense. I think he did a really good job here, not just relying on the 3 ball, which was great. 2 for 2. including one wide open in the corner. But I love that Pritchard wasn't afraid to pull a TJ McConnell, if you say. He would just drive down low. A lot of players expecting him to dribble back out, but he would just finish at the rack. And I think that does go to speak on Peyton Pritchard growing here with his position of the Boston Celtics.
I agree.
But there are still some things to work on.
It always comes back to him at the end of the day.
There are some things to work on. Moving into Game 3. Does Jayson Tatum shooting worry you? Type Y for yes, type N for no. We will be live for Game 3 on Saturday night going up against the Indiana Pacers. Gamebridge Fieldhouse. We now go to Indiana for the Game 3 of the Eastern Conference Finals. I want you guys to join us. Go on ahead and hit that sub button for me. If you've already subscribed, make sure your notifications are turned on. That way you get notified when we do go live. All you guys have to do is hit that sub button for me.